Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Nintendo Fuse's Industry Talk. I'm your host, Barry from Nintendo Fuse. Today, I'm actually joined in person by Steve from Nintendo Fuse.
Thanks, Barry. I decided to make myself visible this time instead of just controlling things behind the scenes. I figured I actually grace you all with my I would say lovely, but maybe that's probably an overstatement face. But you can fill in whatever adjective you want.
There you go. See? So I was able to convince him to come. And we're joined by our special guest of this episode. We have Sebastian Wolf, founder of Materia Collective.
Thank you very much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here, and we're excited to share a little bit of knowledge about what we've been working on.
All right. And we've got Eric Buckles, who is the arranger and project director for their newest album, Hero of Time.
Hi, everyone.
Now, Hero of Time is a collective of Ocarina of Time music rearranged. And as somebody who has listened to the album, let me say, first off, it is beautiful. It is my new choice of music to have on the background. Anybody who watches Nintendo Fuse knows I'm a huge Zelda fan, so this was right up my alley. And wow, it makes those, the 64 sound chips, just forget about it. I don't think I could play the original N64 version without your soundtrack now, because it's just so beautiful. So if you are interested in that, you can go to materiacollective.com. They do have it for download now. And they also have a physical CD. And as a physical collector, let me first off just say thank you again, because physical CDs are not very popular anymore. But for the physical collector, thank you so much. That is going out April 24th. So you can now pre-purchase it today. So thank you again for that.
Thank you very much for the kind words.
Yeah.
It means a lot to hear. We put a lot of time and effort into it, and glad it's gotten the reception it has.
It's been very exciting.
That's what, so many people are scared, especially with physical. They're so, digital only, it's easy. They don't want to take the time. And thank you for doing that. And just, the piece. Speaking of, let's get right into the music. What was it like, actually going through this process to record this and get this all put together?
Well, we could start about the origins of the project and how it kind of all came to be. Last July is when I sat down with Sebastian. We both live in Seattle, so we just met up downtown, grabbed some food and some beer. Let's talk about projects. I gave him a list of things that I was interested in doing at the time, and we just kind of went through the list and decided that Ocarina of Time would probably be have the most potential to be something that people really would want to hear, and something that we can really turn into this storytelling experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was such a cool thing when Eric sort of outlined, well, here's some of the cool ideas that we could do, especially with Legend of Zelda music being what it is. And Materia has a bit of an established legacy now with very high profile, very intensely creative projects, especially for video games. And so I was immediately excited when he started mentioning a couple of the ideas that we had. And we brainstormed a little bit more, and then we decided ultimately on Ocarina of Time. Given how much of a legacy the music has given to the Zelda franchise, the Zelda community, and video game music as a whole.
Yeah, Zelda's known for their music. They do the Symphony of Goddess that goes around. And I did notice, in your back catalog, you have Majora's Mask and you got Breath of the Wild over there. And that's great. I can't wait to listen to those. I haven't listened to them yet. But I hopefully we'll see maybe a little Skyward Sword, Bowers of the Goddess. That's such a beautiful orchestral piece. We get some of that. Now, speaking of the other Zelda games, which one for you do you feel, both of you, do you feel has your favorite music? Oh man, I already did it, and this is here, Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask or something, or is it one you haven't done yet?
Well, it's one we haven't done yet, and for me, it's Wind Waker soundtrack is my favorite Zelda soundtrack. For a number of reasons. It has a lot of diversity. It's more cinematic than it is the earliest Zelda soundtrack that really had cutscenes and with dedicated music for those cutscenes and etc.
Yeah, I'm very much partial to Ocarina of Time, given that it was my first Zelda game, but Wind Waker is definitely up there as well.
Is that a hint at what's coming next?
No promises, but it would certainly be pretty high up on my list of things that I would want to do at some point. So
Nice.
There you go. If it happens, you heard it here first.
Yeah, I agree. I totally get the whole Ocarina of Time, man. Like that's I played Zelda games before that, and of course the overworld theme is incredibly popular and you know brings back such nostalgia for me. But the music was such a keen part of both of those games, and I think you know there's feelings that come when you hear it, and there's you know that was a part of a certain objective that you had to complete at certain points, and it brings all these feelings back when you hear the soundtrack from both of those albums, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, having worked on video game covers for goodness, probably a decade at this point, that is actually one of my favorite things that the community has to offer, which is sort of the recontextualization of that music to which you have those nostalgia connections. It's like, you know, even with Breath of the Wild, for example, where you don't really have fully developed melodies in many cases, but you have very subtle hints. You know, here's like a slight little piano arpeggio. Oh, that's, you know, the Temple of Time. And you have all of these references that are bound so inherently with the story and the gameplay, and it's nice to sort of capture that nostalgia in music form.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest strengths of Breath of the Wild, is that they have such a musical catalog to go back on that when you get to certain areas, they can play new renditions of those songs, and you instantly have those memories flooding back to you, especially used in Hyrule Castle. It's truly amazing. But I'm different than you guys. Ocarina was nice, but for me, I did like the music from another Zelda game that had a lot to do with music, and that's Link's Awakening. For me, Ballad of the Windfish is my #1 Zelda song ever, and I'm not talking the Majora's Mask version. I'm talking the Link's Awakening.
Right, yeah.
And it's just like if you guys do a cover of that with like the eight instruments of the sirens, like there's such good music and somber music. I think that was their first real somber like tone, like everything about it. With maybe Telltale Peaks being a different, or Telltale Heights was being a different one, like a little more upbeat there. But that was my favorite. That's, to me, Zelda at its best in terms of music.
It's a good track.
Yeah, and I'll often forgotten about, which is the sad thing, you know. A lot of people think Ocarina of Time or music. They think Link to the Past. They definitely think Skyward Sword. But Link's Awakening, whatever. It's a Game Boy game, you know.
Link's Awakening was my first Zelda game that I owned myself.
There you go.
Before that, I had actually played A Link to the Past while I was at daycare, which just means I watched the older kids play Link to the Past. But no, Link's Awakening has a special place in my heart just because it was that first Zelda game that I beat on my own. Now I'm like 7 or 8, which is pretty young to be beating that game. It's hard. I tried to play it on the 3DS version like not too long ago, and I couldn't get past level 7, Eagle Tower, and so yeah.
Eagle Tower was actually really tricky.
Yeah.
But that's just it. That's what makes these games so timeless. The music still, the design still, like all that carries on. And I think with your renditions, you keep that legacy alive. So I was going to ask you guys what made you decide to do this, but I don't think I need to ask that. I think we've already established that due to your love of the series. So instead, I'm going to ask you, what was it like working with Nintendo? Because, you know, I know these are all your arrangements, but you did have to get the permission from Nintendo to do that. So what was that relationship like?
So the relationship with Nintendo actually goes back to a company that I started a couple of years ago called Louder. So what Louder does is deal with a lot of those rights, especially, you know, when you're doing cover songs. And, well, you know, in video games, you know, the entire community thrives on covers of video game music, remixes and metal bands and live performances at best. So with that in mind, I put a lot of those energies into Louder and to make it possible for video game cover artists to license songs and get those all released. And now with this project, you know, I've since stepped away from the company to focus exclusively on video game music for Materia Collective. But we work directly with Louder in this case to have them sort of take care of the licensing and the negotiations. So
That's really neat.
we're
Have they heard it? Like, have they actually heard Hero of Time? And like, have they, commented?
we hope they have. We don't know the details of the negotiations for that one, but we're very happy that it is a licensed product. While of course it doesn't have the Nintendo official seal, we weren't able to get that. But Nintendo is being paid for pretty much every copy that is being sold. So we're very happy about that, because it's nice when you're building on a legacy to have the people who've created it be compensated for it.
Yeah, that is, and they haven't been the easiest when it comes to fan things. So it's great that they realized the effort that you guys have put into your arrangements, and I'm happy to see that.
I think it helps a lot too when they know. I mean, just kudos to you guys. The arrangements are, it's spot on. It sounds so good. The musicians you got to play it are just really good. And so I think when you start to ask for permission to play their songs and record them, I think when you can back it up with that good of quality, I think it's bound to make them say, okay, yeah, you can definitely play our music anytime you want because you're that good at it. So yeah, I think
that was definitely the hope as well. And now of course when you're dealing with music like this, at this caliber, this amount of nostalgia, music that have affected millions of people, you really have to approach it from the level of, well, this is a musical homage. We are taking the initial inspirations for this music, and we're bringing it to life with something new that we can offer. And we really hope that translated into our vision for the project, and that came across.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it did. I mean, you can tell it's not just thrown together. It's a passion piece, and I think that speaks volumes. No pun intended.
Volume 2.
Now, I do know with Hero of Time, you did go through Kickstarter. What was that process like?
So once we had sat down and already decided, okay, let's do Ocarina of Time, in August is when I started actually working on sort of the pitch for Kickstarter, writing those first arrangements, just to kind of show proof of concept. Here are some ideas for the arrangements, et cetera, et cetera. We made a video for the Kickstarter. We pushed that live at the beginning of October, and we let it run for the entire month of October. And the goal was to raise $50,000, which we did thanks to just barely over 1,000 Kickstarter backers.
Wow,
that's fantastic.
It was an incredible month. I mean, it's looking back on the last couple of years, sort of projects like this just could never have happened, right? I mean, you still have the passion and the excitement of the fan communities of, the entire Zelda fandom. You have video game music fanatics, like myself included, who want something like this to exist. But, thanks to platforms now like Kickstarter and, having the ability to actually make something like this happen, we brought the community together and made something really special. And I mean, this never would have happened 10 years ago. I mean, $50,000. I'm still looking at that amount, and it's daunting, and it's still sort of a surprise that we convinced 1,000 people. Like, hey, we're really excited about doing this. Let's do it, and you can help. So
yeah. Did you guys have any? I've talked to some other people that have went through Kickstarter for their projects, and some of them say it's incredibly tough because it's so much pressure and everything. Did you guys experience that, or was it more like everybody just showed up and gave their money, and you were just like, oh wow, that just happened overnight, and we can just smooth sailing from now on?
It's incredibly tough. This was my third Kickstarter project that I've had funded, and every time it's always kind of down to the wire, with Hero of Time being no exception to that. We went into our final 24 hours with something we still needed there was 25-30% left that we hadn't funded in the last day. And so we ended up setting up this Twitch stream where we sit down, we play Ocarina of Time, we show previews of the tracks and set goals for, okay, if we raise at $45,000, we're going to play another preview, and kind of telethon it up a little bit. And so that was how we spent the last 12 hours or so of our Kickstarter campaign. And I think that's ultimately what helped push us over the goal.
Absolutely. And then with, I think we had 45 minutes to go, and that's when we reached our 50,000.
Like cutting it close.
It wasn't. You're right.
Hey, you know what? The important thing is you did it. Let's see that telethon thing. Like, that sounds like amazing. Like, talk about a way to drum up, enthusiasm. And like I was just saying, I don't think I could play the N64 version without your music back there. So next time you could do it with, like, we're gonna play Ocarina of Time again, but we're gonna play Hero of Time's music over it. So
If there was only some way to like really sync it up and let your music play when I play the game, it'd be awesome.
Like some way to say, here, look, we're gonna do Wind Waker next, so you're gonna show you what our music's like over Ocarina of Time. Now just imagine that over Wind Waker.
Yeah, there's our pitch.
Yeah, I mean, the Zelda Symphony of the Goddesses, that's still going on, but it's in the last couple of years. What has also happened is symphonies playing along live to a music, to a movie. For example, I saw the first Matrix movie at a concert hall, and you had the entire symphonic orchestra playing along to the movie.
Oh my god!
So,
Wow.
wouldn't that be cool for a video game?
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are going around, not just, Ballad of the Goddess or Symphony of the Goddess. There's Video Games Live, and Final Fantasy has one as well. And I can honestly say I've seen those three, and they're amazing. So, like, when I heard this, I'm like, all I could picture was sitting in a concert hall watching this live with, like, a big screen with, like, Ocarina of Time playing. Like, oh my god, like, make this happen.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool video game orchestras that are touring around right now. There's Pokemon as well. That one's super fun.
Oh yeah, there's a Pokemon one. And Distant Worlds, that's the Final Fantasy one.
Worlds. I finally saw their new one. It came to Seattle, and they had a intimate music from Distant Worlds. So it was a smaller ensemble, a little bit more chamber music-y, and yeah, I think Arnie Roth and his entire production company.
Oh yeah,
beautiful, beautiful pieces.
See, now maybe we'll see a collaboration between you guys.
Arnie Roth, if you're out there, here's my email.
Well, there you go, guys. So what we have here is Hero of Time, April 24th, coming out physical. You can download it now. That is materiacollective.com. Now stay tuned. We're going to be back with our guests, Eric and Sebastian, as we talk more about the industry.